Hello and welcome everyone to this very special In Conversation with KathyAnne McManus, hosted today by Rise and the IABM. It's great to have KathyAnne with us today, and I'd like to do a quick introduction. Cam, as she's otherwise known, is the Chief Customer Experience Officer at Avid and also the SVP of Global Customer Solutions and Services. She's also part of our exciting expansion into the North American region. Cam has just joined the RISE Advisory Board in the US, and we're delighted to have her with us today.
Thank you,
So,
Anna. I'm thrilled to be here.
So Cam, we're going to start off with a few rapid fire questions. And for those of you who are on the call, this is an interactive session. So please do use the Q&A if there's anything that Cam says that triggers a thought or a question in your mind. We'll be talking about 45 minutes, and then we will take the last 15 minutes to take questions from the audience. So please do think of questions as we go along. So Cam, starting with the rapid fire round so our listeners can get to know you a bit better. Where were you born?
Sydney, Australia.
in the big smoke of Sydney.
Yes.
And what countries have you lived in?
Well, Australia, Singapore, and the US.
And what's your favorite food?
Oh, hot chips, but I'm going to say, I have to say fries to be also American, but I think with salt and malt vinegar, and that's something that's very different. I don't think you see too many Americans putting malt vinegar on their hot chips or fries. So that's my favorite food.
Though I think it is more common in the UK. so maybe that's an Aussie tradition that came from England. And many of you who know you personally will know this, but for those who are not drinking buddies with you already, what's your favorite drink?
Oh, that goes to the mojito, but it's followed closely by a glass of champagne.
Thank you. Your favorite music?
Oh, that's tied. I'm definitely an 80s fan. I guess being a teenager in the 80s, but I also love jazz music, so it's tied.
What's the favorite sport that you play?
You know, it's yoga these days. So I would say that's it's fairly new in my life in the last couple of years. But yeah, that's my sport. I'm a bit of a yogi junkie.
and any dancing still?
No. Although, you know, I do look at the odd TikTok dance and think, you know, I can do that.
What is the favorite sport that you watch?
Oh, rugby when I can. It's a little difficult in the US to get. It's particularly I miss local rugby back in Sydney, but I also love equestrian and gymnastics.
And what is the motto that you live by?
Honestly, be kind. You know, care. Take the time to care and give of your time. I think that's my motto in life, and I try to live with integrity. You know, as hard as that can be sometimes, you know, with speaking your truth. But yeah, that's my motto in life.
And where are you speaking from today?
Oh, I am in sunny Groton, Massachusetts, which is just outside of Boston, but it's sunny and cold today.
And is it a home office? Is it an office?
Yeah, it's a home office. Mm-hmm. Yep. I'm hunkered down like so many of us in my home.
Great. Well, I am speaking also from sunny London. I do have the blinds down, but the evening sun is coming in a little bit more strongly than when I set up my computer. So hopefully it's not too distracting. But now we'll get into the more relaxed questions. Um, you've been in the media business since you started your career. And what attracted you originally to work in media? What was it that really from the very beginning had you in the media biz?
So that's actually an interesting story, because I knew before I left high school that I wanted to work in television. And that was because I had, in my kind of early teens, had some bit parts, I guess, in soap operas and things like that. And interestingly enough, even though I was in front of the camera, I was always looking at what was going on around me with the crew and thinking, that just looks so interesting. And so very quickly at high school, I decided I was going to go into television. And then I started out as a camera assistant and an assistant editor. And a camera assistant actually meant you were carrying this massive, like, pneumatic tape recorder behind the cameraman. And actually, it took me 2 years to, 2 goes at applying for a position, I guess, at a quite a competitive production course. So I did sort of this assistant work until I was able to get a position at college. And then I moved into that. And I think what's so interesting is that it hit me only really then. When I got into that course, there were 40 of us and there were only 3 women. And there were 2 streams, a production stream and an engineering stream. And I took the engineering stream and I was the only woman in that engineering stream. So yeah, that's and then we can talk about what that led to. But I knew very early on that this was the path I wanted to take.
Yeah. And of course, you have had a very successful international career. So we'd love to know a little bit more about what you originally did in Australia and then what led to the big decision to leave Australia and take your first international assignment.
Yeah, so I will say that I worked in television for a while in Australia, and I got a lucky break just after college to be a junior assistant news editing. And I really, I thank a fantastic gentleman by the name of Laurie Humphrey for giving me that break, actually. But to be fair, I think I called him every day and hounded him until he gave me a shot. And so then a few years later, I was able to kind of combine my love of technology and production when I took my first role, actually, with Avid products running customer services. And again, there were very few women in technical roles in the 90s, and certainly running customer support. And I had fantastic role models, though. I will call out Peter Amos and Ian Ingleton. They encouraged me to really push forward and to help me be the best that I could, and really reaffirmed for me and supported me that gender had no relevance to my skills and experience. And both those gentlemen are still in my personal and professional lives today, and I'm forever grateful for that support, actually. But I will say that what led to an international career, I guess, is taking opportunities when they presented themselves, even if they seemed crazy and challenging. And so thankfully, I have a really amazing partner, Mitch, that's always up for an adventure. Anyone that knows him knows that's the case. And we found ourselves saying, no, we can't do that. That's exactly when we decide to do things as a couple. So I was actually running my own consulting firm at the time when I got an email for this opportunity actually to work for Avid and move to Singapore. And initially we both, we took a week to think about it, and we said, look, we've got 3 young kids, all under the age of 9. We can't do this. This is ridiculous. So the answer was going to be no. And I was going to go back on the Monday morning and give that answer. And I remember this so clearly. We were sitting on the couch together watching 60 Minutes, and I turned to him and I said, if I don't do this now, I'm never going to do this. Like, how often do these opportunities come along to go and live in another country and, take an executive role, in APAC. And so I said yes. And 90 days later, we had packed up our lives into a 40-foot container, sold our cars and moved to Singapore. And then that ultimately led to a global position and moving to the US. So that was my journey. And I think I would say that it wasn't without challenges, but you do have to take risks in life in order to get reward, for sure.
Yeah, and that certainly wasn't the only big decision, because then, of course, you did take the big decision to come back to Australia.
Yes.
And I think each of these big decisions must have been very challenging, individually, professionally, and as a family. But each time you really almost jumped into the opportunity. So I think, again, it would be great to hear a little bit about what goes through your mind, what gives you the strength and the confidence to really think about these big pivots or big decisions. And how do you kind of land on those large life choices?
So I guess I will say it really comes down to a motto that both Mitch and I have, which is, what's the worst that can happen? And then we play through that scenario. And then we realize, actually, nothing is ever permanent. And I would say that big decision, and the reason I sort of talked about that initial decision, which was really the biggest one, we'd grown up in Australia and Sydney. We'd left to travel, obviously, but we'd not lived anywhere else. We had 3 young kids. And if we could do that, then any other move after that actually is and decision is not that hard, quite frankly. And then I would say that although there was challenges, we had a lot of dynamics to change again. And we'd got through that and come out the other side and actually much richer as a family for it. I mean, some of the changes that occurred when I took the job in Singapore is that Mitch became a stay-at-home dad. I was away for 190 days that first year out of the country. So the dynamics were very different. But then our children were just growing into these just amazing people, with and experiencing diverse cultures and learning, I think tolerance and understanding of, a melting pot of religions and culture. And I think, so that it seemed to me like that was the journey we were on as a family. So if there were great opportunities, we took them. And I would say that moving back to Australia, there was, we had been away from Sydney about 8 years at that point. And there was a burning question for us, which is, where's home? Is Sydney home? Is the US home? And ultimately, I will tell you that after moving back to Australia, and it was fantastic, and it was the right timing, and it was also great for our kids, but we realized that home is wherever we are. And so we're global nomads. And I read this great book and way back, and I will say that that's kind of how we see ourselves. And I love the fact that I've got 2 adult children now, and they just, before COVID, I would say that anywhere in the world is just air travel away, and the world is kind of there for the taking, and just take the opportunity. So hopefully I've answered. I don't think there's any magic answer to it other than it's just how we live our life these days.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it has been a wonderful journey, for me to be a part of and watch. So it's great to be able to share that with a wider audience today. Thinking about your career and thinking about where you are now, as a female leader and as a leader, what do you think have been some of your biggest challenges to date? Is there anything that you really feel that you've struggled with and learned from, that you can share with the group?
There's a couple of things. I would say that probably the one that comes to mind the most is the challenge of balancing family and career. And there's a lot of women, including myself, that with partner and children, you think that you have to be super mom. And the reality is, and also I think for some women, do I have a career or do I have a family? That shouldn't even be a choice. You absolutely can have both. But the challenge is the acceptance piece, accepting that you are going to drop a ball or two along the way. It takes a village other than yourself. You need to lean in and ask for help at times, and also take the support and the help that's offered. And I say the challenge for me was often doing that, because I wanted to be able to manage it all. So I think as time went on, I realized that it does take a village. I had a fantastic support network. I can be a great, partner, sister, auntie, mother, friend, as well. And I will say that also one of the other biggest challenges, but I would say it was a career highlight, and we might talk about that, but it was living and working in Asia as a female executive. Honestly, I was constantly being challenged by senior male decision makers, particularly in our customers, not wanting to speak to me or deal with me, culturally. And I would say that was a challenge. And it really, I just had to lean into that. It took time, holding my ground, finding confidence, even if I didn't have it, and working through ways to win trust and respect, so that I could be, ultimately, they could be successful and I could be successful. And that was definitely harder for me than my male counterparts, for sure. But it toughened me up. And I would say that, and personally just pushing to change the cultural norm, but with professionalism, that that there should be equality, and that really it's skill and talent, no matter the gender. And that's hard when you have cultural norms and barriers to break through, but you can do it.
Mm. Yeah, thank you for sharing some of those challenges. Now, to pick up on your point about highlights, looking back on your career to date, what would you pick out as some of the amazing moments and the career championship highlights?
Yeah, there's so many. I will say that definitely a recent one, becoming Chief Customer Experience Officer for Avid back in January. I've always been so passionate about customer experience. I don't think you can lead service teams for most of your career and not have that as your center focus, but being able to formalize it into my role every day, that's definitely been a highlight for me. I'm now creating new programs, leading cultural change with customer experience, and having customer experience at the heart of that change. That is very, very exciting to me. I have to say that another career highlight, and it was, and I would say that jumping at opportunities. So the Telstra opportunity that came my way, that had us moving from the US back to Australia, was I could just see, this fantastic chance to build something within a very big company, that from the ground up. So I would say building our small but mighty media practice team at Telstra, winning our innovation award for connected stadiums, within just a few months, it was just such a brilliant team of people, including yourself, Anna. So, for me, that was a career highlight because it certainly wasn't an easy path, but it was a really exciting one to take. There was just me initially and build a team from that. And then I think, living and working in Asia, as much as that was my challenge, I would say it was also where I had the most growth as a leader, quite honestly. It was complex. Asia Pacific and that mix is it's so interesting. It's such a big region to cover, often has smaller revenues. And I would say it's a career highlight too, because again, it is all about the people that you work with. It was such a dynamic, fun team. For us, we were together then as well, also Anna, during that time, and it felt like a family. So that's still a career highlight for me to this day.
Yeah, and lots of things there that you can be very proud of, including the fact that TBS just celebrated 5 years of strength and growth, started by Kathy-Anne McManus in Australia. So thank you, Cam.
Yeah, it's so exciting. That's some of the things, when you plant a seed and you take it to a sapling, and now it's a beautiful tree. So I think it's very exciting to see how things have grown and developed for TBS. It's wonderful.
Yeah. Coming back to your current role, what skill sets and attributes do you think you have that have made you successful? They can be personality, they can be training, but what do you think has really helped you achieve the CCXO role, and then also be so successful in the role?
I have to say, for me, it's my love of people. People skills, I think, are one of your greatest assets that you can have. Looking after people that you're privileged to lead. And I say that leadership often is seen as a right, but actually it's a privilege. Leading with empathy and care and learning to balance that with the business requirements and business outcomes. That I'd say has been an attribute for me that has definitely helped in my success. And I think there's a very accurate saying, if you look after your people, they will look after your customers. And that's very true, and I would also say that for one of the things that has been so important for me in this media industry is that I grew up in it. And what I mean by that is I know what it is to be an editor, to be in production. I also know what it is to decide on a technology and some of the challenges that come with implementing that technology. So understanding the business needs of customers and really listening and then finding solutions. I think for me, that's another attribute for me, that just being able to come up with that solution and that answer and come at it from a place of understanding. And I also think that a part of my personality is really getting to know the customer, getting to know the people. And some of my best friends today are people that were my customers at one point or another. So it's the industry is a very personal industry, definitely. I know that people would say it's tight knit and cliquey. It is. There's a trust that comes with and that opens doors for you if you really understand your customers and you understand the business. So I think for me, that's been at the core of my success. It's really all about people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you. And in terms of the media industry at the moment, again, picking up on the kind of time that we're living in right now, what do you think is the most exciting about the media industry at the moment? You've been in it for many years. You've seen both highs and lows and challenges. Looking at it with a 2020 lens, what are you most excited about right now?
COVID has been such an interesting catalyst, I guess, for our industry, and leaning into remote working, remote delivery of media, and across the entire value chain. And so that leaning into cloud-based technologies, and also moving to OpEx models versus CapEx models that come with subscription and SaaS offerings. Definitely in the last couple of years, there has been some movement, but with COVID, that's now exponential. And whereas there may have been some hesitation in trusting cloud technologies, now there's just an exponential shift in needing to work remotely, understanding that that actually is going to, the cloud technologies are going to be a secure operation in which to do that. And so I do think that that's the biggest change in the last 9 months, is absolutely leaning into where other industries have moved a lot sooner. And I'm not saying that there hadn't been solutions already being adopted by media customers, but now there's an absolute leaning into it and a necessity to.
Yeah. And are there any innovative or exciting projects at Avid that you can share with us that are, again, rolling out now or being considered now due to the COVID impact?
Yeah, I can definitely speak to that. So Avid's had subscription in market for a number of years now. So I would say that with this change in the industry, we are also leaning into transitioning the company to more subscription offerings, to obviously cloud and SaaS offerings as well. And so that has been, and our ability to support our customers during this time with remote workflows. We've always been known for collaborative workflows. So being able to take that broadly, be able to keep our customers going, that's been pretty exciting. But I will say that I'm currently, there's an internal project that I'm leading at the moment, which is Avid's digital transformation initiative. And that is, changing a lot of our back-end infrastructure as well as process and culture to support those subscription and SaaS offerings, and investing in technology to support that. And the other piece to that is, because subscription and SaaS is so customer-centric, leading the company through this CX focus and sort of changing culture. Culture is never an easy thing, anyone will tell you, to do and to change. And I'm not suggesting for a second that Avid's not cared about our customers. I think our employees love our customers in our industry, and they bring that passion every day. But actually, that's quite different to ensuring that the customer experience is at the heart of everything that you do. And so as we look at that digital transformation of ourselves, the company, that we are leaning into that with how do we provide the best customer experience with how we choose to do that. And I'm a technologist at heart. As I said, I started kind of in engineering. So again, I'm getting my teeth into that technology piece, but then also how we are going to implement that and roll that out, and obviously transition the company smoothly. So for me, that's what I'm working on at the moment.
Yeah, and absolutely agree that the internal journey can often have many relevant lessons for how we work with our customers. So sometimes that becomes the most important journey of all. But exactly. Yeah, good luck with both the internal and external transformation.
Thank you.
Another thing that you've spoken about very passionately in the past is around internal transformation with regards to opportunities for women and diversity and inclusion. So, if there are things that you are working on at the moment or that Avid is championing, again, I think you've got a amazing reputation in the industry for really being one of those beacons of change. And wherever you go, you fly that flag and take that wand with you. In the current environment that we're in right now, what's going on in both your own world with D&I and with Avid's world?
So I will say that I will take the Avid perspective of part of this as well, but I do want to start with the industry. I will say that I'm thrilled to see that the number of women entering the industry is rising, and not just in creative roles, but technical roles too, which is fantastic. We still have such a long way to go though, and we're making progress, but there are really two key imperatives, I think, in order to push that further. And that would be promote and encourage women and demonstrate, actually, it's all upon all of us to, demonstrate that it's an attractive and an exciting industry to be a part of. And because I will say that there are roles that we obviously put out and advertise, and still the number of women that apply is so very low. So, it's really making it attractive, and that's upon all of us to support that. And I think the other thing is that create a smooth journey that provides opportunities for young women to succeed and progress in their career and in our industry. And so that's when I think look at my role inside Avid, and I'm always looking for female talent at various levels in the company and how I can support and just try to create that smooth journey and see what they need to be able to really harness or demonstrate even the platform to showcase what they can do. And so I do think that's upon us. So as more women rise into senior roles and in executive positions, we have to actively support one another to do that. And, I have seen more doors open for talented women, but we need to continue to open more doors and maintain sort of that momentum, I guess. And I think another key thing is giving a reference for great talent, help women find roles. And that, that's, again, I was saying, what's one of my mottos, invest time. And it's so important. It can be just an email, making a connection, but just helping to provide some of those opportunities. And then it's up to the person, obviously, to then demonstrate, their talents and their experience. And also open up your network of relationships as well. And, to people that I work alongside, with customers, that is, I think it's just having a notion that I'm always on the lookout for great talent, male and female, by the way. But I think when it comes to women, it's just going that extra mile and taking the time. And honestly, the secret sauce, as I've said, is relationships and that are built on trust and integrity. And I think that when I put someone forward in my network, it does open a door typically, because, and we can talk about networks a little bit actually, but, networking and utilizing your network is really important.
Yeah. And any commentary on what Avid is doing as a company? Are there any?
Sorry, I didn't address that, did I? Yes. So I would say that there's a number of things. Our Avid Customer Association, the board there is an active push and focus on diversity in the board for a start, and also programs. Again, it's like creating these opportunities, really there's some fantastic talent in our industry, and just allowing that visibility, I guess, and approaching, whether it's not just gender diversity, by the way, but how we can solicit and get interest and get that mix onto the board. The ACA is very focused on that, because the truth is that the more diversity that you have in any organization, company, board, the more success you're going to have, because you've just got this rich cross section of experience and talent and perspective, which is absolutely brilliant. The other thing is that we sponsor Rise, which is fantastic. Also, we do sponsor the Boston Arts Academy, and that's a high school in Boston, and it's totally focused on diversity and ensuring opportunities, really young, high school students, to be able to develop their creative, art, dance, theater talents. And I've been involved in that with Jeff Rosica, who sits on the board there, and that's been fantastic. And so there's a wide gamut of things that we do. And then internally, again, we have more female leaders, senior leaders in Avid than there has been in the past. And again, we're working really hard to make sure that we can find up and coming talent and nurture that within the company and provide opportunities.
Yeah, and I just saw that Kate Ketchum won an award, so that was very exciting.
Yes.
Please give her my warm congratulations, because of course we've seen her come up, from a very young graduate at Avid to now a senior executive. So it's been a wonderful journey, and I think you've had your part to play in that success as well.
Well, I'm not going to take that away from Kate, but again, it's been a pleasure to support Kate and just work with her over the last couple of years. And yeah, she's certainly a great talent and much deserved recognition, and she is a woman to watch. So
absolutely, yeah, we'll give her my congratulations.
I will. For sure.
Just staying on the theme of mentoring. So, you've obviously been a very strong mentor in many young women's lives and through long careers, including my own. Why do you think mentoring is so powerful? Rise runs a mentoring program, which is, been active for the last 3 years. What is it about mentoring that really results in so many of these amazing changes in a career or in a life? And any thoughts you have about your own mentoring journey?
Yeah, so as you said, I'm a huge believer in the power of mentoring, and specifically, I'm going to say this: having the right mentor for the right stage in your career. So I think that's often kind of missed, that there's a period of time at different stages in your journey, and there are different, I guess, experience or support or help that you are looking for at the various stages. And from my own personal perspective, I've been blessed with some amazing mentors, particularly in the last couple of years. And I can't emphasize enough, having that right mentor at the right stage in your journey. And it's come two ways to me. I've had someone approach me and say, look, I'd really like to mentor you. I think I could really help you at this stage in your career. And so I know that as a mentor myself, that it's not always a mentee coming to me and saying, oh, can you help me? It's me saying, I think I can help you. And that's how often it's looking for what in your experience can help that person at that stage in that journey. And I will say I had a fabulous mentor, Meredith Helikar. She was one of the first female chairmen of a board in Australia, and she was my mentor through my career time at Telstra. And it was so invaluable, her insights. And she was sort of like, I think I can help you. And she did. And then ultimately, more recently also at Amdocs, I had a mentor, Ronnie Ratner. And again, different things that she was coming to the table with, and I was at a different point in my career as well. So that was definitely instrumental into also the kinds of decisions. And I didn't say that up front, but I will tell you that it's been some of those mentoring engagements that have led me to a decision to take a role or to change a direction and do something, because just the stage in the journey and where am I going to go to next. And it's a trusted relationship. And so that formal engagement is really, really important. A sounding board, a great way to ensure that you have broader perspective, because we really can get caught up in our own view and our own world. And so having a mentor outside of perhaps the company you're in can be really beneficial at some stages in your career. And so that has just been fantastic. I would also say it's a trusted relationship where you can build on your strengths. You can call out your weaknesses. You can develop plans on how am I going to close that gap? How am I going to improve on that weakness? And providing tactics that you can employ, I guess, to then move forward and develop yourself, and obviously then, hopefully your career and your career path. But I'm going to say that I also believe in less formal mentoring as well. Sponsors are so important. They're just as important as mentors, actually. And I'm blessed to have many sponsors throughout my career. So while I wasn't in maybe a formal mentoring engagement, they sponsored me at various parts of my journey, both male and female, and really opened up doors or pushed me to do things that perhaps I would think, oh, I don't think I can do that. So leaning into listening and listening to what others have to say about you that perhaps you don't even see in yourself, and saying, okay, that's really interesting. I didn't think I could do that, or I didn't think I was ready for that. And so between mentoring and sponsors saying, you need to push yourself. You can do this. I know it probably seems like a stretch, but creating that engagement, whether it be formal mentoring or sponsorship, is important to your career journey.
Yeah, no, absolutely agreed. And just go back to networking a little bit, because you did say earlier that you wanted to address the importance of networking in the context of, mentoring and sponsoring as well. And of course, what we found from the RISE program is that it's been challenging this year to do our typical face-to-face networking. Yes. And so how do we continue to build that all-important network while we're still in the digital and virtual world?
Yeah, so I think networking, often I will say that women probably find it harder than men to network, interestingly enough. And I do think that is because often we are balancing career and family, and I do think that sometimes you might choose, and it's not the wrong decision. I'm going to go home to my family versus going to an event. So that, that's one of the things, is that you don't have, I don't think that's the wrong decision. And I've definitely made that decision. But one of the things that you do need to actively do is get into a network and take the time, even if it's just 10 minutes. But a network is you get out as much as you put in. And I will tell you that because I'm a people person, I guess, in a relationship, I will say that the power of that network for me, and also for helping others, has been incredible. But you have to put time into it, even if it's 10 minutes a day, or it's I would say, providing knowledge, taking the time, if there's something interesting to share, to take the time to share it, because equally, if we're all doing that, then we're also learning from each other. So I will say that it is an important part of a career journey. And the other thing is just be open with your network too. You know, as I said, that sharing is really, really important.
Mm. So I'm going to ask my final question. I have had some questions come into me in advance that I will ask you, but if there's anyone who's on the call who would like to ask KathyAnne a question, this is a great opportunity to put it into the Q&A box, and we'll ask it live. But my final question is, when you look to the future and your next steps, either in your career or in your personal and professional life, what's next for Cam? What do you think you still want to accomplish or still want to do, with the years ahead, the years in the future?
So I'm going to say that I love leading organizations through change or taking organizations to scale. So I do know that whatever is next for me is definitely going to involve that. In the last couple of years, I've really been focused on building out my skills to ensure that I understand every operation and function in a company, to be able to lead a company through either massive turnaround or growth success. So one way or another, that will be my, the path that I'm heading towards. I've got more to do there. I will also say that I have been leaning more and more into my mentoring. I typically have 3 or 4 individuals per year that are my mentees, and I love it. More recently, I've also been mentoring high school seniors. So that's in my future, is doing more of that, because I absolutely love it. It's so rewarding when your mentees achieve great success, and it's so rewarding just to see, when you're no longer the right mentor for the next part of the journey, whatever that might be, seeing how that evolves. I get great joy from that. So that's definitely on my horizon. But I'm going to say that the other thing for me is going to be my family. I'm around a lot more at the moment, thanks to COVID. I have 2 adult children and 1 in high school. And so spending some time supporting them in their careers and their education is definitely in my horizon. So I will say that that's been a welcome change that COVID has, because I think anyone who knows me knows that I'm on a plane a lot. I've traveled a lot for the last 12 years. And something a little more fun and nothing to do with my career at all is, people will also know that know me, I love baking. And there's always more baked goods in our house these days than there are people to eat them. So I'm going to continue to focus on my baking skills in my spare time, and also my yoga. So that's what's in my future.
Wonderful. all the best with that. It sounds quite amazing. Okay, so one of the questions that has come in is, in your experience, how important is formal education in success? What are other ways you've seen for people to progress in their career journey, or is it all about degrees?
Yes. So absolutely. A formal education is a great place to start. You get access to learning tools, honing your craft or honing your knowledge, great mentors, great educators. But I would say that there are kind of 5 key things that I think people need to do to progress their career journey outside of education, of which I will also say constant education, but that comes down to these. Pursue a passion. Set a goal for yourself. If you don't know what your goal is, then it's really hard for others to help or support you actually on your journey. And you need to keep staying in touch with that goal. And it can change, of course, but I would say pursue your passion. take risks. I mean, we started this conversation really on that point. And I will say that, take an opportunity. Say to yourself, what's the worst that can happen? Maybe weigh that up. But if you don't take risks, you won't take that opportunity to even stretch your capability or stretch yourself and your abilities. And then I think the other thing that's really important in your career journey and success is being open to constant feedback, whether that's through mentoring, whether that's through sponsorship, whether that's just with your peers, who you're working with. And even if it's not positive, use it to improve. And I would say continuously solicit that feedback on an ongoing basis. That will help you evolve and definitely help you, in success. And then I already touched on it. I think network, again, is so important. Put the time in. You'll get the time back that you put into it. Get engaged, get involved. And I would say that, interestingly enough, when you're helping other people, you're also developing yourself. And that definitely helps in your career journey. No matter what level you're at, you can always be helping someone or mentoring or sponsoring someone, no matter what stage or what level in your job you are or your career.
Great advice. Thank you. Second question. Top tips from Cam about what she would say to anyone wanting to work in media. So I guess that's at maybe at the beginning of your career, or wanting to jump in if you're in another career.
Yeah.
So top tips.
Top tips. Well, first of all, it's a tight industry. Everybody knows everyone, and it's so interesting because I'm sure other industries say that about themselves as well. But I think that that's where network is so important, and developing relationships. It'll get you a foot in the door. Then I guess it's up to you, to stay inside that door. And I would say that it is about constantly just whatever role it is, whether it be creative in media or technology in media, is that you need to stay really connected. It's fast moving, it's fast paced. And I would say that to anyone, wanting to enter, even if you're not in the industry now, get connected with people that are, get engaged, start learning, and then a door will open, and then it's up to you after that. And then I would say you need to just keep nurturing, those relationships.
Thank you. Another question that's come in. Hi, Cam. Do you think a higher education, master's or above, is becoming increasingly important for effective leadership?
Oh, it's a great question. Again, I come down to any formal education. It just provides such a great foundation and backbone and knowledge that you can then apply to a role. I will say that, so yes, if you have that, and then it's having that opportunity to apply it, because there, of course, is a lot that you learn in the job, or learn from mentors, or so the answer is yes, of course, absolutely. Is it for everybody? No, not, I wouldn't say everyone go and get an MBA. It's like, it's not, and it really depends on what your career path is, and but I would say that if you do pursue that, absolutely, in leadership, you will have the opportunity to apply that. I think you'll also find that you'll adapt it as well. So, and that's what it's there for. It's foundational. It's not a textbook to say, oh, this is how I should lead. So again, I don't think doing an MBA necessarily is going to develop your people skills necessarily. And that's a huge element to leadership. So absolutely fantastic foundation. And if it's for you, absolutely pursue it. You will get to utilize it, but there are other facets that start to come into leadership other than just the formal education.
Another good one that's come in. What is your definition of success, and how has it changed over your career?
Oh, that's a tough one. So being very project driven, I think through, with a lot of, or outcome driven. So whether I take it even back to editing a story, and we were actually just chatting about this before we hopped on with everyone, that to being a news editor and have, cutting lead story and making it to on air on time, no one says, oh, we're just going to delay the news by 5 minutes while we, finish. I would say that everything, it's having a conclusion or an outcome. So for me, success is if you're set the goal and you achieve that goal, even across milestones. For me, that's success. And even if there's twists and turns along the way. So I would say that for me, it's when I can see something complete. Or I think also success for me is also around when you're taking on something particularly challenging, and change is one of those things, is when you win. When I've got to the point where I've won over hearts and minds and everyone's on board and you've got that alignment to the outcome, to me, that's success, even before you get to the outcome, right? You've got this beautiful, I call it, orchestra that's playing beautiful music together. And I will say that that's been a big part of my career, is finding the right people, the right talent for that orchestra to be able to kind of deliver great music. And that mix, I pride myself on being able to build really great teams. And for me, that's been success for me, so even if, that the end of that journey is for me, it's like, then I move on and, you've created something great. So hopefully I've answered that question.
Yeah, no, thank you.
It's a tough one.
Yeah, a wonderful way to end. Thank you so much, Kathy-Anne, for spending the last hour with us and really sharing a lot of amazing input from your life and your career. I will encourage everyone on the call who doesn't know Kathy-Anne to reach out to her. She's very available. And whoever is your mentee next year during the RISE mentoring program, because you're going to be a mentor, will be, I think, very lucky.
I'm very excited. I'm very excited for my role on the board in North America, and also to be a mentor. And thank you, and for the opportunity. It's great to see you. It's thank you, Amber.
And thanks everyone who participated, asked questions, a really engaging discussion. We do have our RISE Awards that are coming up on November 17th as part of the DPP Tech Leaders Briefing. And this is going to be a very exciting couple of hours where we recognize the talent from the best in the industry across a multiplicity of different award categories. So if you can, please do join us on November 17th at the RISE Awards. And until then, a very big hug and thank you to Cam, and thank you to all for joining us today. Bye from London.
Thank you. Bye.